NTA preparing to train another group of young people for the workforce. The defense to open its case in the Barry and DeSheena Johnson murder trial. And a youth leader examining the role gangs play in youth violence.
The Bahamas Tonight Northern Edition starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening all. I'm Megan Shepard. Thank you so much for tuning in. Topping news, the National Training Agency is meeting its mandate on Grants Bahama. The competency-based training and job placement system is achieving a level of success. This national apprenticeship program is in keeping with the government's policy on apprenticeship training. Office manager at the Grand Bahama office of the National Training Agency, Donald Glass, singing the praises of the program. The program aims to prepare young persons for the workforce through skills training and on-the-job experience.
What we do is we go out, we bring them in, because our program is a 14-week job preparatory program. It's in 2 phases. The first phase is 4 weeks, but it's only 3 half days a week. So we don't burden them 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, you see. So it's from 9 until 12, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And then when the 4 weeks are completed, we then put them actually in the workplace. And what they've done, when they've registered, they'd give us some indication as to what they would like to do. And so we, as best as possible, we try to match them with what their intentions are.
Glass says the program is particularly beneficial to young persons that may not have done as well as they would have liked in high school, calling the NTA a second chance to prepare. The program also prepares persons to not only get a job, but prepares them with the tools to successfully keep a job.
Sometimes an individual may find a job, but because of attitudes, he or she may not keep the job. And so the classroom session, the first one I mentioned, the first phase, what we try to do with them is we have really experts coming into the sessions, and they give them instructions on attitudes, on customer service, motivation, empowerment, communication skills. I also am a part of that team. I talk with job preparation, interviewing skills, for example. We talk also about resume preparation.
Glass says the program has been very successful in helping Bahamians retain permanent jobs. Based on feedback from the various organizations involved, he says the program is truly reaching its goal of preparing well-rounded and qualified individuals.
We are somewhat of a referral service as well, because we receive telephone calls from companies asking if we have persons that fit certain criteria. And what we do, we look through our files, and then we make contact with them, and then we send them, and in some cases they're hired. And that is why, incidentally, we ask them when they register to bring all their documents, because if they don't bring all the documents, then we won't be able to really assess them properly to give the prospective employer the information that they would need.
There are currently 15 public and private organizations that are on board assisting to make the program a success. Now, Darielle Higgs is a product of the National Training Agency program. She says while high school helped give her a small idea of what to expect in the business world, the NTA expanded her horizons and gave her the boost to succeed. Higgs is now a permanent employee at the National Training Agency.
It was a good experience to actually go into a group setting and to participate with different persons who I have never met before. And I wasn't placed on the actual internship, but afterwards I was called back to see if I would like to complete my internship, and I ended up volunteering here at the National Training Agency. The National Training Agency really helped me a lot, being employed here now. It helped me to interact with persons differently, being that I was a shy person. It helped me to branch out and to get comfortable with being in the work environment.
Rashay Cooper also gaining beneficial skills through the program. During his training process, he was also to have an internship opportunity at Cable Bahamas Limited. He says that thanks to the skills and training received, the company reached out to keep him on board full-time.
It's beneficial because it developed my communication skills, my interaction with people, because I wasn't really but make me to be out there, more outspoken and more helpful, because, you know, we have a lot of different personalities on the job, and we know how to cope with them. And training actually help you and guide you to say, okay, well, you have to do this, you know, basically, I would say rules to go by on the workforce. But the NDA is really a good training place to be. I would advise anybody from, I would say, young, old, however, it's a good training session.
In other news, President of the Grand Bahama Christian Council giving the position of the church on a long-standing issue, which the government hopes to address soon. It is the question of whether or not non-consensual sex in marriage is rape. As DeSheena Farquharson reports, the church and state are working closely on the issue.
As the discussion continues nationwide on the question of whether or not consensual sex within marriage should be considered rape, people poured into Delta Sigma Theta sorority's town meeting as the Attorney General, attorneys, and a local pastor gave an update on this issue. The Grand Bahama Christian Council, along with the Bahamas Christian Council, is working closely with the Attorney General on the question. GB Christian Council President Robert Lockhart says that they have had some concerns, and he shares why.
There was a few things that we did have a little challenge with at the beginning, but I think we're heading in the right direction. First of all, let me say categorically that from a biblical perspective, there's no such thing as marital rape. The two words are never put together in Scripture. So there was some concern about the marrying of the terms, and we were glad to hear. And also, I had the opportunity to look up this issue in other countries, in the United States of America, state by state, in Australia, in Europe. And a legislation like this is not simple. It's a very complicated issue.
But he says there is no doubt that rape is rape, as he shared the biblical interpretation on this issue.
From a Christian perspective, marriage is consensual in nature, therefore consent is assumed, but not by force, with mutual consent. Because in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, the Apostle Paul says, in marriage, when a man and woman comes together intimately or sexually, it shall always be with mutual consent. And so the assumption in true Christian marriage is that marriage is consensual and assumed, but when the couple comes together, it is always with mutual consent, both of the husband and the wife. It is never by force.
He believes that it is the church's role to get involved in anything that threatens the sanctity of marriage, men, women, and children.
Biblical perspective, rape has no place in marriage, and should any person be so treated by a partner that they are legally married to, that marriage has already come to an end and needs to be legally terminated, and the person appropriately punished. But we understand that this is the ideal, and we don't live in an ideal world. Men and women are flawed, and these flaws sometimes lead to behavior that is harmful to others, that laws must be put in place to restrain. Those who cannot restrain themselves have to be restrained by the law.
DeSheena Farquharson, ZNS Network News.
In news from the courts, the defense is expected to open its case in the Barry and DeSheena Johnson murder trial in the Supreme Court tomorrow. Attorney Jeffrey Farquharson, counsel for murder-accused Paul Belizaire, is slated to call 2 witnesses. Co-accused Devon Hall is expected to call a witness, and the other accused man, Kevin Dames, is set to call a few witnesses as well. Paul Belizaire, Devon Hall, and Kevin Dames are all accused of killing the Johnsons at their home in Holmes Rock in September 2015. They're also facing 1 count of armed robbery and robbing the Johnsons of their car keys and their GMC truck. The Crown closed its case on March 3rd after calling some 24 witnesses. The case has been ongoing now since September of last year. More Cuban migrants intercepted at sea and brought to Grand Bahama. Yesterday, immigration officers were called to the Freeport harbor to collect another group of Cuban migrants who were unsuccessful in their attempt to reach U.S. soil. It is the 4th group of Cuban migrants taken into custody within the past 7 days. The Cubans claim that they left home on Thursday, destined for the United States. But on Monday, they were intercepted by the U.S. Coast Guard cutter Paul Clark, some 25 miles east of the Keesau Bank. The 5 males and 1 female were taken into custody by local authorities. They were expected to be flown to the detention center sometime today. And as we continue our series on youth and crime, we take a look at gang activity and the role it plays in criminal activity. Tonight, a well-known youth leader is addressing gang activity and how to stem negative behavior among the youth. Kimberly Mullings reports.
Carlos Reed is passionate about youth development. Over 2 decades ago, he traveled to Chicago to become certified in gang intervention, mediation, and prevention. In the 90s, there were about 30 gangs in the Bahamas. Back then, he, along with others, echoed a call for the government to address the issue before it got out of hand, resulting in lifetime gangsters and generations of them.
They said that we didn't know what we was talking about. In 2001, after we went back in 1999, we said, look, yeah, man, let's do something about the situation, or we going to see organized crime. The day we see the organized crime, where the youth gangs have matured into organized entities, where the gang culture is being now funded by the gang boys, because they're bringing in the drugs and the ammunition, and that's lucrative for them.
He says the youngsters are attracted to this.
They want to be like these gangsters. You know, even kids that don't know these leaders, they're calling themselves this gang because they want to be a part of something. Me coming down to Freeport was to see how we could stick a pin in this. We don't want Freeport to get the way Nassau is right now. Right now in Freeport, you got 2 major gangs in Freeport. That is the D Block and the Nike Boys. These are spin-off of gangs in Nassau.
Remnants of a predominantly Haitian gang based in South Florida is also present in the Bahamas. Based on his research, Reed believes Bahamians ought to be alarmed.
Right now, there seems to be, according to the Haitian population, the Haitian community, that there's a war between the government of the Bahamas and the Haitian community. A lot of these young persons, they are seeing how their parents are being treated. They're mad. We got to pay special attention to this, because if this soul pound really bursts loose, like we believe that it will, we're going to be in some serious, serious trouble.
Gang involvement is not a good look for young men in Grand Bahama. He says once people get involved, death or jail are usually their only options of getting out of this lifestyle.
Going to prison all the time and seeing the amount of young boys right now. I mean, the whole population is being overpopulated by young people. When you look at the crime report that was done, it says that the amount of violent crimes are committed by persons from 16 to 27 years of age. They are both the perpetrators and also the victim. We need to work with our young people. We need the government of the Bahamas, we need corporate Bahamas to rally around people who know and who have given their life to trying to turn the situation around, and let's do something before we destroy this entire Bahamas.
Kimberly Mullings, ZNS Network News.
Stay with us. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition continues in just a moment.